communicating to people when their sort of neurotypical host mode starts overriding your personal autonomy, you're going to need to remind them of things like, hey, please do not force my kids to hug or kiss you. Don't force people to eat or drink something. It's super annoying when somebody says no and then you like keep trying to get them to do a thing. Just listen to people, just respect people, just accommodate people's wishes. Like, it's not hard. Welcome back to another episode of the Neurodivergent Creative Podcast. This is our second episode for December. We are, at least in the United States, firmly entrenched in the darkness of winter. Actually, I think this is probably going to come out like right around the winter solstice, so it is officially winter time. And this episode is going to be about ways to keep your happy little brain happy. Easier said than done. Okay, we're going to talk about accommodating your needs and actively preparing in advance for things like seasonal affective disorder or seasonal depression, some of the SADs that come from the winter holiday season, like we talked about in the last episode about estrangement. We're going to set you up to have nice things to look forward to. That's the plan. So, for starters, I've got this amazing list of activities from Kitty, who is actually part of the team that manages the podcast. So hi, Kitty. I posted in the Neurodivergent Creative Pod Facebook group asking people for their tips on how to prepare for the seasonal blues, right? The winter blues, SAD, whatever you want to call it. And Kitty came in hard with this amazing list of things. First of all, everybody else was like, get like a sunlight lamp. But apparently you have to use sunlight lamps at like a particular angle. And so that makes them a little difficult for us to utilize with the ADHD because we don't want to just sit for 15 minutes and have a light shine on us from one particular angle. And then if we move away from it, it's not doing the benefits that we need. So I'm workshopping that. I'll get back to you with a recommendation on the sunlight lamp. But Kitty, this amazing list, she gave me permission to read it out here on the podcast and do an episode focusing on it because it is awesome and I just really want to share it with you. So here we go. Number 1, cooking is a great way to boost the mood if feeding people is like part of how you show love. Kitty also says the repetitive movements that are involved in preparing meals soothe my nervous system. I'm very sensory seeking, so I get to squish, cut, crack, and taste things without it being disruptive. So if that sounds like you and you are somebody who loves to cook, and like me personally, I consider cooking from scratch part of my creative practice because it like uses those same parts of my brain that like making a painting would or writing a poem would. I get to create something delicious that then I and my family can eat, which is awesome. And I have some tried and true recipes that I like to bust out. I regrettably can never make chili at home because nobody else here likes beans. Somebody's allergic to peppers. Somebody doesn't love tomato-based soups. So I'm like, okay. So now I buy a canned chili at the store, and every once in a while when I want chili, that's what I eat. Could I make a batch and freeze it? Yes. Will I remember that it's there? Dubious. Very dubious. Regrettably dubious. Probably not, friends. It's probably going to get freezer burned and then I have to throw it away. So I buy a can or a pouch or whatever of some tasty chili. I should just make it and eat it. But I get sick of it after 3 days. And I only know how to make enough to feed 8 people. I don't know how to make a small amount of chili. We can blame my father for that. That man makes chili. Okay, great. Back to this list from Kitty. She also mentions gardening, which she can do because she lives in the Philippines, not in the frigid winter tundra of Ohio. But she says, gardening boosts my mood because plants are one of my special interests, and tending to it attracts small animals, which is another special interest. I also end up getting some much needed air and sunshine when I do go outside. So if that sounds nice and you're more of a plant witch type, you can bring that indoors. You can prepare for a spring garden by starting seeds indoors. You might want to pick up some plant lights to make sure that they're getting enough, sunlight. You can make sure those are at the right angle because those plants are not going to get distracted and walk away. Pro tip. Plants don't have ADHD, I think. You can also, if you have houseplants, use the winter to do some pruning, trim back dying or dried leaves, repot anybody who needs repotted. Typically, I would repot in the spring or summer, but like if somebody needs it, who cares? Turn the heat on. They're fine. Your plants probably won't die if you repot them in the winter. Also, some plants actually need kind of a boost of cold, especially orchids. Orchids need to go through a wintering period in order to make them grow a new spike or stem, which will then rebloom. So a lot of people, like if you buy an orchid at the grocery store, Phalaenopsis orchid, that's the pretty standard one. Once those blooms fall off, people think it died. It didn't die. Flowers end. Right? Like flowering is a part of a life cycle of a plant. So if you keep orchids and all those blooms fall off, you can trim that stem down and then just keep watering it and fertilizing it as you did when the blooms were there. And then when it is wintertime, put those orchids closer to the window, and that will tell them, oh, we are going through a wintering period, which will then make a new stem start growing. And that is like the most exciting thing about having an orchid. New flowers. I'm going to show you my orchids. Stay tuned for special amazing content. Also subscribe to my Patreon and I'll put some orchid pictures on my Patreon. Orchids are one of those things that stand up to neglect a little bit better than you would anticipate, but not as much neglect as I give them. I should be a better orchid parent. Okay. Thanks for coming on that journey with me. Hugs. If you're a hugger, hugging is great for mood boosting as well as petting animals. So both of those things are going to boost oxytocin in your body, which is a lovely hormone that makes us feel good and loving and connected. Kitty also says, pressure from hugs helps me stay grounded and is one of the main ways I stop myself from disassociating. That's huge. First of all, knowing if you are a sensory seeker or a sensory avoider, super important. So like Kitty mentioned in that first point, like she likes sensation. She's a sensory seeker. So she wants to try the flavors. She wants to try the textures. She wants to experience things at like all stages of cooking. And cooking is a great way for her to get those different sensations, right? It's like if you eat a carrot and it's really tough and snappy, I guess not tough. It's crunchy. And then like you cook that carrot, now you get a very different sensory experience from the carrot. And you can also change up the spices and things. But if you are somebody who is not sensory seeking, you're probably not going to experiment with foods and textures and flavors and spices. You're going to stick to things that you know you like. Totally awesome. Next up, like, do you like escapism? Do you like to read a book or watch a film and just sort of go somewhere else and not think about where you are now? That's fine. Also dissociation. Do you just kind of go get lost and stare at the wall for a little bit? I do that sometimes. Cool. Sensation and sensory seeking can also help like ground you in your body and avoid that dissociative feeling. That's not to say that dissociation is always bad. Sometimes it's a very natural coping mechanism. You're allowed to do it. It's morally neutral. But if you want to avoid it, hugs, snuggles, petting the dog, that might help. Kitty also does this really cute thing that she calls a 5,000 words session with her husband. And she says, I like talking. I like daydreaming. I like talking about the things I daydream about. When someone listens to me yap, I feel loved. And all of a sudden my day doesn't suck as bad. So if that one's you, please come over into our Facebook group, the Neurodivergent Creative Pod, because we've got all kinds of stuff going on. We've got regular posts happening like every day in there, asking you about different aspects of your creativity. We do a Shouty Thursday, so you can come in and shout about something. It is a place where you can ask for help and get supported and just talk to other people about your special interests. We love that. We thrive on that. Writing or writing poetry specifically, which is what Kitty does. She says, I notice that I'm not dissociating when I write because it's important to me to be able to convey feelings that stir my heart. And this does not matter if it is something that is really high quality or something that's just sort of like bleh. I have this. I started a fancy, nice notebook. It's like leather bound. It's probably fake leather. I'm pretty sure this was like $8.99. But I let myself start a new notebook that's just for poetry when I did a poetry course last year with Dylan King, who was on a couple episodes ago. We talked about being an empath. And some of like my first draft poetry goes into here. So that was something very interesting for me, letting myself like write poetry that wasn't smooth and polished and like totally done in the nice notebook. So yeah, anything creative, sketching, writing, just having ideas and jotting them down, allowing things to not be perfect and still committing them to a nice thing, like your nice notebook, is very, like, I think, I want to say grounding, but I'm not sure if that's the right word. Like, it reminds you that you are important even when you are not doing a final copy, right? Like, all of your thoughts get to be treated with importance. All of your poetry gets to be treated with importance. All of your writing, all of your sketching, all of your ideas should be treated like they are important and that they matter. When we get into this headspace of, well, it only matters if I submit it or publish it. It only matters if I get paid for it. It only matters if it's beautiful. It only matters if I show it to other people. No, we want to always be like, not just start. I hope you have started long before now, but we need to normalize this idea that like your creativity is a sacred part of you. It is not something that is only to be shared when it is like deemed worthy. That's fake. So go make some bad art, go write some bad poetry, do it. It's going to be awesome. And then also like putting together a peppy, upbeat playlist that either gets you moving or gets you feeling good, gets you singing. I notice when my depression is really bad, I don't sing as much. And when I do sing more, it is an indication that my mental health is improving. So music, funny how it's mostly art, right? It's creativity, it's writing, it's drawing, it's singing, it's dancing. All of these are excellent things for when you are feeling a little gloomy, especially in the winter, because you can't just easily go outside and like get some sunshine or get some fresh air because sometimes the air hurts your face. Hey friends, welcome to the part of the episode where I shamelessly ask you for financial support. Recently, over the past few months, I have shifted my business from a strictly selling things to make money model to a mutual aid model using Patreon. So what that means is that I want to keep queer, neurodivergent, disabled dollars inside the queer, neurodivergent, disabled community. So I'm asking you to invest in me and invest in this show and help me meet my needs and hire other neurodivergent, queer, and disabled creators to support me. What does supporting me mean? First of all, it is a non-hierarchical Patreon setup, is that some of my tiers I have set up with merch, and those are priced a little bit higher to give you some merch, right? And it comes as part of your investment. It ships globally. There are no additional charges or anything for the merch or shipping. It is built into the tier that you select on Patreon. So go check out the Patreon, get an idea of what those different tiers are, and invest in me, invest in this podcast. When we reach $500 a month, I'm going to be able to go back up to 4 episodes a month, and that is my first little goal. So everybody gets the same benefits, which is a shout out in the podcast credits and access to a monthly Q&A call with me. And we have a small business chat where neurodivergent entrepreneurs can come in and talk and just share ideas and bounce ideas off each other. And we've got some other cool stuff in the works as well as this list of people grows. Cool. Also, we got to talk about the holidays again and how to accommodate yourself as a neurodivergent person with different sensory needs, etc. when you are like visiting people for the holidays, when you are leaving the house and doing things. And more of this advice is coming from Kitty. We had a brainstorm, but she mentioned that she like keeps a bag that will meet like everybody's needs. And it is a heavy bag and is full of a lot of things. And here are some of the things that she mentioned she keeps in the bag. Snacks that don't melt, smell too strong, or make too much mess. I absolutely love those caveats. Because yeah, like that sucks. If you're like, oh, well, here is the safe food for me. I can eat this snack at any time. But then like it's minty. So like the smell lingers and gets on other stuff. Like, no, easy, basic, not too smelly, not too much mess. Just kind of an easy snack. That way, if you start getting hangry or a meal is not coming when you anticipated it, that is one of my biggest problems as a neurodivergent person. And like, I have problems with that. I think proprioception is the term, like that, the self-awareness of like my body's signals. Like sometimes I don't know I have to pee until it is almost an emergency. My warning lights don't work. I often don't know I'm hungry until I am like shaking and feeling very faint. And sometimes, especially if you are like in a new situation or you're waiting on somebody else or you are like socializing, you're at a party, not having like the food figured out and timed well. Like sometimes I'll be like, I'm going to have a snack so that I'm not starving before dinner. But then like I have my snack too early or like a little too late. And then my appetite's weird for dinner. I'm either ravenous and ready to punch you in the face, or I am too full and like not hungry for dinner, which is then a problem when it's bedtime and I am hungry and then I don't want to go to bed all full. It's hard. These are signals that our body is supposed to give us, but when you're neurodivergent, apparently you just don't get that part. If anybody knows how to activate that part of the brain, please tell me. Okay, here's some other stuff that is in Kitty's magical bag of neurodivergent accommodation. A first aid kit, everybody's meds, wet wipes, a face towel, a change of clothes, dental floss. That is so real. I never ever think about dental floss until I am somewhere and something is stuck in my teeth. And then I hate that I have to admit that my sibling is correct by always having floss in their fanny pack. Just always got everything in there. Oh, you need floss? Oh, you need tissues? Oh, you need this? How do you fit that all in your little Mary Poppins fanny pack? Okay. Fidget toys, huge, especially for like kids who need to stim. Cause like, you know, we're adults, we'll go tap our fingers in a pattern or like twirl our hair or like do whatever. But like if your kid has a specific fidget that they like, give that fidget. Lots of pens. I love that. I don't know if that's like for writer things or if it is to entertain the children. Sticky notes, headphones, loop earplugs. Those are like the noise, not quite noise canceling, but like noise bettering headphones. I got a set of noise whatever headphones. Use them one time, put them in their little carrying case, and then I'm pretty sure my cat put them under a piece of furniture and I haven't seen them in over a year. So if you're going to get loop earphones or earplugs, whatever they are called, put them somewhere safe and special and magical and maybe like tie it to a balloon so that your cat can't sabotage you. Yes, he is orange. Also on this list, sugar-free sweeteners, hair ties, face masks. I'm assuming that we're going like COVID face masks and not spa day face masks, but you do you. Live your life. Plastic bags, a mist bottle with distilled water for any moistening needs, and a water bottle with ice. These are all like amazing recommendations. I'm trying to think if I would add anything. I really love the plastic bags because sometimes like something just gets messy or dirty and you don't want to deal with it. Like I just found a bottle of beard oil and the lid had cracked and so it was all over everything. And I'm like, yeah, this would be great if I could just put it in a little baggie and then not have to think about it. So basically anything that like accommodates those sensory needs, put it in a little pack. Take it with you wherever you go. And if people think that's weird, now we're back to the boundaries part of the discussion, which goes hand in hand with our episode on estrangement. Not that you should go around being like, respect my fanny pack full of tissues. Oh, tissues. I would add tissues. Or at least some napkins. My car is full of Chipotle napkins. Like the center console is just take out napkins for days in there, which is nice because then I don't have to buy car tissues. Anyway, but if somebody's talking shit, somebody's giving you kind of a weird look and they're like, oh, why are you so strange? Why do you do this weird thing where you have a bag full of activities? Fuck off because I said so. That's why is one way you could say that. But also like communicating to people when their sort of neurotypical host mode starts overriding your personal autonomy. You're going to need to remind them of things like, hey, please do not force my kids to hug or kiss you. Hey, I mean, that goes for everybody. Like, that's not just neurodivergent people, but like overall, there's a whole generation of parents and grandparents who think that forcing affection is cool. And we need to not normalize that. We need to start normalizing acting like that's weird as fuck. Okay? You with me on that? Normalize asking grandma what the hell she's doing. There we go. That's my message. Okay, here's like more boundaries, right? Don't force people to eat or drink something. This happened to me at work once. We got a panettone, which is like some kind of fancy bread with raisins in it. It's kind of fruitcakey, but it's not fruitcake. It's panettone. It's fancy. It's French. And it was made with, I think, milk and eggs. And I was like very strict on not eating. I'm still very strict on I don't eat dairy because I'm lactose intolerant. But like it had some ingredients in it that I was not eating. And my boss kept trying to get me to eat it. He was like, Caitlin, just try it. It's so good. And I'm like, no, thank you. Caitlin, you gotta try this. Like he kept doing it like 5 times. And I just kept saying, no, thank you. And that is exhausting and annoying, honestly. Like it's super annoying. when somebody says no and then you like keep trying to get them to do a thing, just listen to people, just respect people, just accommodate people's wishes. Like, it's not hard. And especially like, please don't attach a guilt trip to it. Don't be like, oh, but I worked so hard on it. I worked so long. Oh, please just try a bite. Like, I'm sorry. If it's a pumpkin pie, I don't want it. I don't want to try it no matter how much I love you. I don't like the texture of pumpkin pie. The end. Also, like commenting on bodies, right? Like, oh, you're eating a lot. Oh, you're not eating very much. Oh, don't you like it? Maybe don't. Maybe don't comment on how much people are eating. Trust them to fill themselves appropriately with food. What else? The kids ones, like the hugging kids. Kitty also had an example that sometimes family will like insist that the kids should be taken to more family functions to desensitize them to things like heat and noise and smells, to which Kitty is a very firm, no, that's not going to be happening. You know, like taking care of your sensory needs is really important. And yeah, that's also going to mean like saying no to social invitations that are going to be really loud. If I can't handle loud noises, I'm sorry, I can't go. Like if you do a quieter thing, maybe I can go to that. But overall, anything that just sort of boils down to people telling you how you need to participate in something, that ain't it. No, thank you. So maybe also in your little fanny pack of goodies and fidget toys and napkins, you can have a little card that is like, hey, my kids don't have to hug you. So you can just flash it to them. Be like, my kids don't have to hug you. Or to save time, it can just say fuck off. And you can get 100 of them printed and you just hand them out all night. And whoever gets the most fuck off points wins nothing because they needed to fuck off. Awesome. So anyway, that's our episode, friends, about accommodating yourself during the seasonal blues, the winter doldrums, depression, and also helping to accommodate yourself and your children at family functions if you are traveling for the holidays. You got anything else? You got anything else that needs to go in that bag? Tell me in the comments. Or if you're just listening to this and you're not on YouTube, first of all, what are you doing? It's so much more fun to watch on YouTube. I make great facial expressions and I do a lot with my hands. We're having fun on YouTube. But if you're not on YouTube, just shoot me a DM on Instagram because that's where I love to hear from you. And I will see y'all in the new year, I guess. Oh my God. Okay. I love you so much. Bye. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy all the things. Yule. Wolf and Newt. If I missed your holiday, it's not on purpose. Also, New Year's Eve this year is also the new moon. So please set some intentions that feel really good, release that old shit, and invite the new in for 2025. 2025 is going to be challenging. We're going to keep talking as long as we can keep talking. Okay, I love you. Approach and tell you a joke to lighten your load and help you along. Or sing you a song. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do.